Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. On a video recently in my weekly wellness series with Jonathan Shane, I shared some really exciting news about my hormones and my ferritin and iron levels, just getting in really good shape, and just some stuff that I've been dealing with for the last few years, if not longer, resolving and seeing a lot of the symptoms that I was having due to those issues like just go away and just feeling so much better. So that video series is a series, and understandably a lot of people came to watch that video who haven't necessarily been watching the entire series, and so there was some context needed there. So I felt like it was necessary to make this video to just really lay out all the things that I did that have affected my iron and ferritin levels and have really helped me get to a place where I feel like they're resolved. I hesitate to say that because I could come back in a month, 2 months, 3 months, next year and say, you know, my ferritin has dropped again and I'm back at square one. That's definitely happened before. I have a hope that that's not going to happen because of what I've seen. I feel like I'm on the right track. My ferritin has been at a healthy level for longer than it's ever been without having to go get another iron infusion. So I feel like I'm in a good place, but I do want to give that disclaimer that, you know, things can change in an instant, and this is where I am right now at the time of recording, and it doesn't mean that this is where I'm going to be at any time in the future. The other disclaimer that of course I have to make is that I am not a doctor, nurse, healthcare professional, nutritionist, dietitian, anything like that. And anything I share is just meant to share my own journey. It's never meant to be advice to anyone else for them to do anything. It's just me sharing my story. So definitely keep that in mind. This chat today is sponsored by Element. Element is a longtime supporter of my channel and I absolutely love it. Now, I cannot say that I have a direct way that balancing my electrolytes has helped with my iron and ferritin levels. But our bodies are very complex and all the systems of the body work together. As much as conventional medicine wants to separate everything into different body parts and different systems, it really is very holistic. It works together. And the more things that you have in place, the more systems of your body that are functioning optimally, the better chance you're going to have at addressing any other issues you might have. So while there's not a direct link that I know of to say that getting your electrolytes balanced is going to help with your iron, I am very thankful that I did have that foundation when I started to work on all of these issues, because when you're not hydrated, for me, I know when I was not taking my electrolytes were not balanced. I didn't feel hydrated throughout the day. I also ended up having to use the bathroom multiple times through the night, so my sleep was interrupted. So I'm so glad that I had that taken care of. My sleep was so much better than before the electrolytes, and I know that that fed into my healing journey, and it was just one of those layers. What I'm going to talk about in this video is layers, because it's almost never just one thing that you do that fixes all of your problems. It's layering habits and different things on top of each other. And for me, having my electrolytes balanced was one of those foundational layers that I definitely had in place, and I am super thankful for. So Element has a special deal for my viewers. You can get a sample pack. And in the sample pack, it has 8 of their regular flavors, 1 stick of each flavor, so you can try them out. You can see which ones you like the best. You can get the free sample pack just by using my link, drinkelement.com/indigo, drinklmnt.com/indigo. Click the link, place an order on the website for anything there, either the drink mixes or even for the new sparkling element. This is the electrolyte beverage that's ready to drink, and it's like a sparkling water. Super good. So you can just place an order for anything on the website and you will automatically have the sample pack added to your order for free. So thank you so much to Element for sponsoring the chat today. As much as I want to be able to make a viral YouTube video that says, this one simple thing fixed all of my problems, if you ever find a video like that, usually, you know, you find out after you've clicked on like 2, 3, 4, 5 of those kind of videos, you find that it's almost never true or never true. I don't know that I've ever found one that ended up being true. These issues are so complex and everyone is different, dealing with all different things. And so getting to the bottom of the issues usually takes a lot of time. It can often take a lot of money, testing, and it's just plain difficult. And so I'm going to share my story. And if you don't have exactly the same issues that I have and exactly the same history that I have, then these things that I did probably won't exactly work for you the exact same way that they worked for me. So again, just sharing my story to give ideas and to give inspiration, but nothing should be taken as prescriptive. Also, I feel like it's important to share like the timeline of my story, because it's not like I just found out I had low ferritin and I implemented a list of things and then did them and they gave results. I got my diagnosis of iron deficiency. I tried something, learned stuff from it, tried more stuff, learned stuff from it. And so the timeline of the story is as important as the list of things that I did. So 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago to the day actually, from when I'm filming this video, I received my lab results and I found out that I had a ferritin level of 9, which on all accounts is very, very low. So because my ferritin was so very low, my doctor said I should go ahead and get an iron infusion. And at the time, her thought was that because of my multiple pregnancies, because of a history of heavy periods, I probably just was deficient from that and my body hadn't been able to catch up. And so the hope was that I'd get the iron infusion and it would be enough to get my body caught up. And then hopefully I'd be able to keep it caught up because my periods weren't as heavy as they used to be. I wasn't having any more babies. She also told me to do things like make sure I was chewing my food really efficiently because we knew that I was eating a very high iron diet, lots of red meat, all of that. And so she said, chew your food well, maybe take some HCl during meals to enhance absorption, do various things to support stomach acid production, just pretty basic stuff to make sure I was just absorbing the iron that I was taking in. So at that time I was thinking, I'll go get this infusion, do these things, implement them into my regular life, and we should be good to go. I got the infusion and felt really, really good. Like within four-ish weeks, probably, I was feeling better than I had felt in a really long time. And it really opened my eyes to how many symptoms I had of iron deficiency that since they came on slowly, I, just didn't notice, I guess. And then once they were resolved, I was like, man, I was feeling really, really bad. I do have a video talking about all of the different symptoms I was feeling. So I'll put that up in the cards if you're interested in checking that out. But I was feeling a lot better. Unfortunately, I started seeing my ferritin drop. It started dropping really, really fast again, like 15 to 20 points per month. And especially like during my period, I would get all of those iron deficiency symptoms just rushing back. It was really disheartening, especially after you felt so good and you felt like you were, you'd gotten on top of things. To be back with those symptoms was really frustrating. So what I decided to do was go down the road of gut health. I had suspected SIBO before because of what I've known about SIBO in the past. And so I got a SIBO breath test. And I have documented all of this stuff here on my channel. So I have videos on all of these things that I will try to link as many as I can. So anyways, I did my SIBO breath test. It came back very positive, very high levels of gas in the time frame that you're looking for with SIBO. And so I went down the road of eradicating SIBO. And that process took around 6 months. I did a few rounds of antimicrobials. I mixed it up. I did different ones. That's also the time where I started making my own probiotic yogurt, the L-Reuteri yogurt and Dr. Davis's Super SIBO blend of probiotics. Those were a big part of my SIBO healing journey, along with the antimicrobials. So I did all of that for about 6 months, and it definitely got worse before it got better. My gut issues did not resolve overnight. It took a while, but then after around 6 months, it was like my gut was brand new again. I was like floored by all the foods that I could eat again and not have all of the digestive symptoms come back. really, I had to rebuild my diet from the ground up because my diet had become so narrow based on what the foods made me feel. And so as soon as like I felt great eating anything, I got to actually think through what kinds of foods I wanted to have in my diet. And I was able to base that on other things besides just if I was going to be sick eating it or not. So I was incredibly happy with my results from the SIBO protocol that I did. And I still am. My diet is so much more varied than it used to be. My gut is in such a better place than it was. Unfortunately, there's this theme here. I found that it didn't fix my iron problems. My iron was still dropping at a very fast rate. I was taking supplements and I was doing all the tricks with the supplements to try to absorb them well. There's all different things you can do, like taking with vitamin C, taking iron every other day, taking it in the morning to avoid the hepcidin. Like there's all these different little tricks and I was doing them and it was like I wasn't taking iron at all. They didn't work at all. And so I was really bummed. I was happy that, my gut was doing so much better, but bummed that didn't seem like it was the one root cause of my iron absorption issues. I was thinking that the SIBO was causing the iron not to absorb, and if I got the SIBO taken care of, that I would start absorbing iron. I do think, again, that the gut health layer and getting that under control has been part of getting me to the place that I am today. But like the theme goes, it wasn't just that one thing. So at that point, I was discouraged again, and I decided to go down the path of iron cofactors. And so this is another realm when you start looking into iron deficiency. There's, the conventional wisdom, if you're low in iron, just eat more red meat and you supplement iron and that should take care of your problem. But a lot of people find that just is not the case for them. And so there's this other school of thought about iron cofactors, and it's not necessarily that you need more iron. Your body has all the iron that it can handle, but what it needs is things like copper and zinc to help you reabsorb and recycle the iron, because your body should be able to recycle iron. And so you don't have to just keep consuming more and more and more. You recycle the iron you already have. And when you don't have the mechanisms in place and these cofactors in place, then you can't recycle as you should. And the iron gets stored in places that you don't want it stored. And so I really went down that rabbit hole of if you just supplement with copper and zinc, and other things like selenium, definitely supplemented with selenium, that would take care of any iron deficiency and anemia. And I will say that I did see some positive benefits from doing this. And like I'll talk about towards the end, I still am incorporating these cofactors in my supplement protocol. I had one really exciting moment in here after I had been supplementing with these cofactors for a couple of months. I had completely stopped supplementing with iron itself. I was just getting the iron from my diet and just supplementing with the cofactors. And a few months into that, I did a ferritin test, and then 2 months later did another ferritin test, and my ferritin had maintained. Now my ferritin was 58 on the first test, and it was 59 on the test 2 months later. So in 2 months, it went up 1 point. I would say it maintained, which was a huge win for me because it had been dropping and dropping and dropping. So I was expecting, another 30-point drop after 2 months. And so to see that it had maintained at 50 is not an optimal level, according to a lot of people, but it was higher than I'd ever maintained my ferritin before. Looking back on my lab tests from years and years ago, I never saw my ferritin out of the 30s or the 40s. So to have maintained for 2 months, and that's 2 months like having cycles and such, at a level over 50 was a huge win for me. I was so excited. I did come on here and do a video celebrating about having maintained my ferritin for 2 months. So at that point, I was like, okay, I think I'm on the right track with the cofactors, and I'm just going to keep up with that. Unfortunately, 2 months after that, because I was getting my ferritin tested about every 2 months, 2 months after that, I found that my ferritin had dropped by, I think it was 36 points. So it dropped crazy fast the following 2 months after that maintenance of 2 months. So needless to say, I was absolutely crushed because I thought that I was making progress, and I was hoping that I was getting to the point where I might start being able to build my ferritin, because I had just maintained. I was hoping to build it higher than that 50, 58 mark. So to see it drop by 36 points, one of the biggest drops I'd ever seen, was super, super discouraging. At that time, I did not realize yet that I was dealing with hyperthyroidism. I found that out a couple months later. And my thought now is that that's when my hyperthyroidism really revved up. I think I've been dealing with hyperthyroidism or like right on the edge of hyperthyroidism for a while now. And I do think that that has contributed to my iron deficiency over the long term, but then particularly when my hyperthyroidism kind of revved into high gear, I think that caused my iron to drop, because one thing about hyperthyroidism is that it just makes certain systems of your body go too fast. It makes your metabolism go too fast, and it makes your digestion go too fast. And when that happens, you don't absorb different vitamins and nutrients. And I think that played into it as well. So I do think that the gut healing that I did and the cofactors that I was taking were helping. I think they were part of it. But when that hyperthyroidism kicked into gear, I don't think that those things were enough to overcome the metabolism speed up that I had. And so I think that is what caused my iron and ferritin to drop again at that point. But of course, I didn't know about the hyperthyroidism yet. So I was having certain symptoms like heart palpitations, racing heart, pounding heart. And these were all things that I had had before my first iron infusion 2 years ago. And they are also symptoms of iron deficiency. So when I had those pop up, when I saw my ferritin had dropped to a really low level again, it just made sense that it was due to the iron deficiency. So I decided I got to go back in and get an iron infusion again. I didn't want to have to do it again. I had been so encouraged that I'd maintained for a while, but I was like, all right, here we are again. We've got to start over from scratch to try to figure this out, but I need to get my iron back up to a healthy level in order to, keep fighting. So I went in and got iron infusions thinking that that was gonna, fix my racing heart and pounding heart. And, unfortunately, I found that it did not. So I went in and got the infusion. I waited, a couple weeks because it takes a while for all of the iron to get to all the places. And I did not see a resolution of those symptoms. And that's about the time when I started working with Jonathan Shane of the Keto Road. He's coaching me and helping me out with hormone balance and all different kinds of things, nutrition, exercise, all of it. And he had me go get some blood work, and that included some thyroid blood work. And that is when we discovered that I was severely hyperthyroid. And so the hyperthyroid symptoms of racing heart and pounding heart, they really overlap with the iron deficiency symptoms. So then it made sense why just getting the iron infusion didn't take care of those issues for me like they had previously. So of course, at that point, I was seeing my doctor regularly. She was having me get blood work done every 2 weeks. And I was put on some medications to calm the symptoms of I was at the point of being afraid I was going to have a heart attack. I was right at the edge of having a thyroid storm, which is a really, really scary thing. If you haven't, I didn't know about this before. I learned so much over the last few months, but I was in a really, really rough spot. So I got started on the medications to bring my thyroid levels down as well as to control my symptoms. And over the last 2 months, I have seen my thyroid levels come down, so I'm out of that hyperthyroid range, feeling so much better from that. And I definitely think that getting out of that hyperthyroid range is like a huge factor in maintaining ferritin levels, because when your digestion is just going so fast, you just can't absorb stuff. So to get that taken care of, I think was one huge key. So basically there's 3 things that I did at the point after I found out that my thyroid was in the state of hyperthyroidism. And that is get that hyperthyroidism addressed by the medications. Also, right around that time, I changed my diet. I did start adding some more carbs to my diet. Jonathan, in one of our, I think it was our very first video together, he shared a study with me about women maintaining their iron or absorbing and maintaining iron better with some carbs in their diet. So that's something that we decided to do to both help with hormone balance and with that iron, maintaining the iron levels. And then also at the point after the infusion, I decided to change my supplements up, because if you remember, I had stopped supplementing iron completely and I had gone to just supplementing with the cofactors. I decided to keep supplementing with the cofactors, but then also add in some iron supplements as well. And real quick, I'll go over all of the supplements that I am currently taking. Even though my iron is in a good place right now, I want to keep it there. And so I think I'm taking this as a maintenance, and I won't change it unless I see my ferritin levels going too high, and then I will adjust. But I am taking Blood Vitality. Now, there is one from Ancestral Supplements called Blood Vitality, and that is not what I'm taking. That's an organ supplement. I've never found organ supplements to be effective for me as far as my iron levels. I know they are for some people, but for me, they have not been. So that hasn't been a priority for me. But this Blood Vitality, I will put a picture of it up on the screen. It has a whole list of things, but the iron in it there's something that was done to it to make it more absorbable. I will link to a video from the guy who designed this supplement so you can get all the info about that if you're interested in it. But it seemed like a good blend of the iron plus the other things needed to, absorb the iron. So that supplement itself does have copper and zinc and vitamin C and different things. So I take one of those every day, and I take 2 of them on every day of my period, because you're losing blood at that point. And apparently you can absorb more iron during your period than normal, which makes sense because you're losing it. So anyways, I double up on my iron supplement during my period. Then I also take L-lysine. L-lysine has been shown to help you absorb iron, so I take it at the same time as my iron. I take vitamin C also, same thing. That one helps you absorb iron. So I take 500 milligrams again at the same time as I take my iron. And the Blood Vitality does have some vitamin C in it, as well as some zinc and some copper, but it's pretty small amounts, so I take more of each of those things as well. So I take the vitamin C. I also take lactoferrin. Lactoferrin helps, I believe it helps transport iron. So that's another one that I just take just to be on the safe side. And then I also take zinc and I take copper. I take just 20 milligrams of zinc per day and then 6 milligrams of copper. And I will mention that I also have a high meat baseline diet, although I have had a high meat baseline diet for this whole time, and that was not the one thing that fixed me, unfortunately. The one thing that caused me not to have this problem in the first place. That would have been nice. I kind of was banking on it at the beginning, that my diet is so, high in iron. How could I possibly be low in iron? But I do want to mention that I definitely have a high iron diet, and I do think that is one layer that is important here. So just as an overview of all of the things, all of the layers that I have done, the first is getting infusions when I absolutely was at the bottom of the barrel with my iron. There's a lot of different opinions about infusions and if anyone should get them ever or not. And for me, they have been helpful in those times where I need them, but it's real easy to get into the cycle of just getting infusions iron dropping infusion, iron dropping, and it's just a Band-Aid. So if you need the Band-Aid, great, use it as a Band-Aid, but don't rely on it as a cure. That I found for me that it was not effective that way. So getting infusions when necessary, addressing gut health, and for me it was SIBO in particular, not just focusing on iron supplementation, but also including the cofactors like copper and zinc, getting my thyroid in range. I am learning how much the thyroid affects so much in our body. And if your thyroid is out of whack, either hyper or hypo, it really, really can mess up all kinds of systems in the body. So just getting that thyroid leveled out. Also, just getting hormones, basic hormones balanced. I got my estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, all of that kind of balanced out as I worked on my thyroid, as well as focused on the changes in my diet, adding in those few carbs, just being intentional with the amount of protein and fat I was getting, helped me to balance my hormones. And there is an interplay between progesterone, estrogen, and iron, and I don't claim to understand it. Jonathan talked about it in that first video that we had together, so you can watch that if you're curious about more and see the study that he was referring to. But just getting your hormones balanced can help with keeping your iron at a good level. And then the supplementation, and at the very bottom, the baseline of a high iron meat-based diet. So that is it. Those are the things that I did to help get my body to a place where it's able to hold on to iron a little better. And I'm hopeful that I'm gonna maintain here. Like I said, I wish I had just one magic thing that I could tell you that would fix all of the problems. Unfortunately, I don't. I'd love to hear your stories down in the comments because everybody is different. Everyone has different issues they're coming to the table with. And when we hear from each other and get ideas, it can be really, really helpful. So share your stories down in the comments, and I will see you again in the next video.